To Sledge, Van Reese, and others commends Tennessee Governor Bill Lee for Executive Order 11 regarding paid family leave and calls for all areas of Metro Nashville government to implement paid family leave policies equal to or greater than the paid family leave outlined in the aforementioned executive order.
Second.
All right, Councilman Sledge.
Well, the summary pretty much does it, and you can tell that I wrote that instead of our council office. So basically, it does. Governor Lee had an executive order where more than 30,000 state employees are going to be eligible for 12 weeks paid family leave. Metro currently does 6. This resolution says,
Can we shut the door? Yeah.
says state, thank you for setting a good example, and Metro, let's match or do better than. So,
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Excuse me.
RS 2020-175, Van Reese, Hurt, and others recognizes Nashville's trailblazing elected women office holders who broke barriers and influenced and inspired those who came after them.
Motion.
second.
There's a late file.
Move the amendment.
Motion second.
It's late, so.
I guess the,
We moved the
hold
motion.
on.
It's a typo.
Well, we need to discuss the late file nature of it.
It's a typo.
Oh, it's a typo?
Yeah, it's a technical correction.
Okay, thank you.
I can explain the typo.
Does anybody have any objections to the late filed amendment?
No.
Okay. All right, sorry, is there a motion on the amendment?
Yes, we've already done that.
All in favor?
Aye.
The amendment is to change the date. Joanne North served 3 full terms, and so she served from 1979 to 1991, not 1986. And so that amendment is to correct that incorrect number. I will take a moment to let you know that this is really hard to make sure we didn't leave anybody out. The resolution I'm bringing is on behalf, again, of the Mayor's Council on the State of Women, organizing resolutions once a month as we move toward the celebration of the women's right to vote in August. This particular resolution was difficult in that trying to kind of figure out how do you recognize the right people and not leave anybody out. The committee suggested, and what we ended up with was all the women who were the first elected in their office that are no longer serving. And so that's why you see who's on this list. If there's any questions or corrections in the future, we can address that in other resolutions. But that is the nature of the resolution and the amendment.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Late filed resolution. Resolution requesting Governor Bill Lee veto HB 836, SB 1304, pertaining to the discrimination of adoption agencies against LGBTQ prospective parents. First, council member, can you say why there's an emergency, whether it could have been timely filed, and whether it can wait till next council meeting?
Certainly. The reason that this was late filed is because the nature of the legislation that was passed at the state legislature, and we had a meeting of the LGBTQ caucus to put this forth. The governor has not yet signed the legislation, and we wanted to make sure and say something when we had the chance.
Before he does. Okay, anybody have a problem with late filed? Okay, is there a motion on the resolution?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Late file RS 2020, that's the late file amendment we already handled. Okay. All right, on to elections and confirmations. Let's start with the reappointments to the Beer Permit Board. The reappointments of Mr. Christopher Bellamy, Mr. William Conway, Ms. Kia Jarman, and Mr. Brian Taylor for terms expiring October 31st, 2023.
It's deferred.
You have the original.
No, I don't. It's right there.
Okay. Okay, then the reappointments of Mr. Bellamy, Mr. Conway, and Mr. Taylor. Could y'all make available 3 chairs for folks to pull up in the middle here, wherever y'all happen to be?
Just the reappointments at this point?
Just the reappointments, please.
Chris up there? I haven't seen it. Is Chris up?
Okay. All right. Thanks for showing up. How are y'all?
Good, how are you?
Good. Could you introduce yourselves and just talk a bit about why, your thoughts on the beer board, why you want to serve again, what changes need to be made, and things along those lines?
What changes may require a longer conversation, right? No. I'm Brian Taylor. I've been on the Metro Beer Board now for, okay, never mind. I don't know how long I've been on the beer board. It's been, give or take, 9 or 10 years. So I've been a while. I'm the current chair. I had a chair or vice chair for the last 5 or 6 years. We've had a great board. The department as a whole has done some really good things. They've probably had the best staff that they've had in my tenure there. We've got a diverse board. Hopefully, you guys will appoint all the new folks, and we'll continue to have a diverse board. But as far as changes, we've made a lot of changes over the last 5 to 6 years. A lot of good changes. A lot of local laws as it pertains to beer have been very archaic or really outdated compared to the growth level of our city. So we've done a lot of good things to make it more business friendly, to make the department more user friendly. We've even came into the current century with online application and payment process. Believe it or not, that did not exist a year and a half ago. So some great things. I'm happy to be serving another term.
Great, thank you.
My name is William Conway. Fairly newer to the beer board. I've only been there for about the last 8 months, so I can't speak to a whole lot of changes that have been done, but I know that they've talked about them. I think a lot, credit goes to the executive director, kind of streamlining those online things, and it seems like a lot of the fines that we collect are getting paid more efficiently. Just looking at the budget numbers that we have, we're collecting a lot more money than we have in the past. And I think part of that is because of the online applications, the ability to pay if there is a fine online, the privilege tax, things like that, to where, people can actually get on the internet and do it. They don't have to come down to the actual board. I don't think that we have as many trials as we did in the past, but I think in the trials that we do have, we have a fair amount of discussion from various unique perspectives. Myself, and I'm an attorney, but I know there's people that are in real estate that are completely different jobs and everything, and from different backgrounds, which I think is very essential. And we've had to deal with a couple of serious cases within the past 8 months, which I think we've taken care of. We try our best not to impose the worst punishment, but we also try to give the people the ability to work with our staff in case there's some kind of significant problems that are recurring, of how they can eliminate those problems and be more in compliance and things like that. But it's not as much time as you guys put into anything, but it's 2 meetings a month, which is not it's not terrible to be able to do that. We actually have one tomorrow at 5:30, which is one of our trial dockets. So, but I've enjoyed my time there, and I'd like to stay on it.
Move for approval.
Any questions?
Yes. So you mentioned that there were several things that have kind of been great accomplishments. What, in terms of changing the rules for beer, could you just tell one of those things?
Sure, I'll give you 2. Believe it or not, this department did not accept or not have the ability to accept or the willingness to accept a personal check from an applicant or from someone to pay a fine until about 2 years ago. And the argument that I made at a board meeting with Metro Legal was that I can walk in and pay my property taxes or pay a speeding ticket or a parking ticket or anything else with a personal check. And it may not affect my day-to-day life. If I bounce a check for my property taxes, guess what? I don't lose my home. They just send it back and charge me $25 and I have the opportunity to repay it. If they bounce a check to the Metro Beer Board, we have the authority to just not issue them a beer permit. And more times than not, it's their livelihood. There's all the incentive in the world to not bounce a check to the Metro Beer Board. It passed quite convincingly with the rest of the board. That's one. The other is the online ability for folks to apply and to pay their fines and just bringing us into the 21st century or maybe the new century, whatever it is today. A couple of years ago, that didn't exist, and now the vast majority, a majority of all applicants do file online. Again, I can go online, pay my property taxes, pay a parking ticket, which I just did last week. And from that perspective, I can go get a permit at Metro Codes and pay for it online. And that is one of the single biggest upgrades that we've made to the department. Folks can file an application online, which makes the staff more efficient, makes the process more efficient, makes it flow faster, better. And as Mr. Conway said, we've adjusted our fine structure over the last couple of years, and we're continuing to look at things like that. And we'll continue to do so when we feel that something is out of line with what may be right or may seem right. We put a lot of effort and time and discussion into wanting to be as fair as we can to the public while offering the services and the abilities for the public to interact with the department as openly and freely and easily as possible.
Because all of these appointments and reappointments tend to come up like this in one big batch. I remember a few years ago we had a discussion about multilingual conversation or multilingual outreach or discussion with the beer board, that there was a gap there a few years ago. Have you seen that change in the time that you've been on the board?
Yes, but it was for a short period of time, and it's always going to be a challenge. At one point, we did have a Hispanic-speaking individual on staff, but he got another job that was just a promotion for him. I don't know if it's in Metro or not, but it was an upgrade for him and his family. That was nice because at least that existed. We still recognize that is a challenge and will continue to be a challenge in the department as it is in the city as a whole. But we feel like we treat that process for someone who doesn't speak English as their first language. At least I don't want to speak for the rest of the board members or the staff. I feel like we treat it as fairly as you can. And if we feel like there is a disconnect, we will defer processes until we feel that we've got someone there to either translate or the folks have a better understanding of what we're doing, when, where, and why we're doing it.
Any other discussion? All in favor of reappointments?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And can we get a motion to defer
So moved.
Bellamy, Fox, and Jarman? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do we have a parking tickets?
I just see them.
I pay for a monthly pass, so don't worry about it for me.
You can pick them up outside. Parking tickets are in a basket out front in the hallway.
Thanks, y'all. See y'all next door. Now we have the appointments of Mr. Joe Perlin and Ms. Bailey Spalding for a term expiring October 31st, 2023.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to defer Ms. Fox.
We did.
Oh, I thought we just did.
We did all three.
Okay, my bad.
You were talking over me.
I don't know if I'm out of order because I'm going back to ask a question on what we just finished. We approved all of these and only deferred Ms. Fox, but there were only 2 here. Did we have a letter for one, or the other reappointment doesn't have to be right here?
We approved the 2 gentlemen that were sitting here. We deferred 3 people, and the other 2 folks are right in front of you now.
So we did defer Mr. Bellamy, is what you're saying.
Yes,
Yeah.
Bellamy, Fox, and
Okay,
Jarman.
that didn't come across. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yes, yeah. Okay.
It didn't, but thank you.
Because you were talking about. All right. Mr. Perlin as well. Thank you. Ms. Spalding, welcome. Would you all introduce yourselves and talk a bit about why you're doing this?
Oh, sure. My name's Bailey Spalding. I'm the CEO of Jackalope Brewing Company in town, and so I was really kind of delighted to get the call about joining the beer board, because I think I offer a pretty unique perspective as one of the city's brewers, and hope to kind of help in that way. I think I would be the first actually beer producer on the beer board, and I think I hope to help, kind of give that perspective, continue that kind of movement into being pro-business, giving kind of education to the permit holders, whether you're a maker or retailer, even a wholesaler, and just try to continue to improve the education and safety and businesses in town.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Perlin?
My name's Joe Perlin. I'm a native, lived here my whole life. Very community-minded, do a lot of volunteer around Nashville. I love serving the community, and this is a great opportunity for me to serve and help Nashville, help the community, and do the right thing.
And you were on the beer board
I was
previously,
on the
right?
beer board before, yes. About 12, 14 years ago, under Mayor Bredesen and Boner and Richard Fulton.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion?
I'd like to thank you for having Jackalope at your place. I haven't made it, but a lot of my running friends have, so I look forward to participating.
Good.
Yes.
I'll see you then.
All right. All in favor of appointing Mr. Perlin and Ms. Spalding?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all very much. We'll
Thank
see you next door. Okay. Community Oversight Board. The appointment of Mr. Andrew Goddard for a term expiring January 31st, 2022. Mr. Goddard will fill the unexpired term of the Honorable Bob Cooper. Mr. Goddard.
Yes.
Would you mind introducing yourself and talking a little bit about your interest?
All right, I'm Andrew Goddard. I go by Drew. I am the son and grandson and father of lawyers. So I've spent a lot of time growing up hearing about justice issues way before going to law school. My practice has been mostly with business. I've served on the Board of Legal Aid for, it's in my application, I think 15 years. Been on the executive board for about 10 years. So I have a lot of work on the civil side there. I was interested in this board when the charter amendment passed. My office is 3 doors down from Bob Cooper, and I spent more time than he probably wanted talking to him about this board and what it was doing and trying to learn about it before I had any inkling that I might be able to serve on the board, and I'm very interested in it. I think it's critically important that there be fairness and justice in policing, and the community have a perception that it's fair and just, which are 2 very different things, and that is in part dealing with complaints and allegations and trying to handle those fairly and see that justice is done. But I think it's also very important that the policing be fair on the front end before you ever get to complaints, that there's an understanding of the rules and procedures, and that is determined by a citizen board in part have input that that is fair and done in a just manner.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions?
Move for approval?
Yes. Do non-committee members have any questions? Council? No? Okay.
But Mr. Goddard is my constituent. I've had several conversations with him on a variety of issues over the years, and I will say he is extremely thorough and does an excellent job in working through tricky issues, whether it be land use or otherwise, in the area where I serve and where he lives, and I think this is an excellent improvement.
Okay. Ready to vote? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Thank you very
Just for
much.
the leave my answer, but I am a lawyer.
No. Great. Thank you. Now we have the reappointment of Dr. Phyllis Hildreth for a term expiring January 31st, 2023. Ms. Hildreth. Hi.
Hello.
Would you mind speaking for a little bit about your experience on the board and what you'd like to see happen moving forward?
Thank you, Chair, members. It's an honor to be back here 1 year after the birth of the Community Oversight Board. Probably one of the most astonishing acts of civic and civil self-determination that a community could ever engage in upon to heal its entire self. One of the things that we have been able to do is define the community as encompassing everybody in Nashville Metro. So that means that our solutions are we-oriented, whether it is law enforcement or whether it's persons against whom laws are enforced or forced. And so to be able to walk in with no structure and have 11 people work together to figure out how to meet the community's expectations about the letter and intent of Amendment 1, to be able to hire a stellar staff, and then to be able to work out a relationship with the police department has been nothing short of breathtaking. It's been an honor to be a part of it, and I hope to continue to offer whatever skills, experiences I have to that effort. So thank you.
Move approval.
Second. Any questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have 2 nominee interviews for the Community Oversight Board. So most of the interviews are in 2 weeks, but because of the way we adjusted the schedule when the additional vacancy came up, a couple of the early nominees who were notified that their interview would be today made plans based on that schedule that made them unavailable to come 2 weeks from now. So we're going to go ahead and do interviews with them today. So I'd like to first invite Ashley Davis. So these are interviews for council positions. These were just mayoral appointments that we handled. Welcome. Would you mind talking a little bit about your experience on the board and what you'd like to see moving forward?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Let me step back so I can at least look everybody in the eye. So my name is Ashley Davis. I've had the distinct pleasure and honor of serving on the Community Oversight Board over the last year. I think even more the added pleasure of serving as chair and being voted and trusted by the other 10 members of the board. It goes without saying, as my colleague Dr. Hildreth has just illustrated for you, a lot has been accomplished, but there's still so much more to do. I'd be remiss if I just didn't acknowledge the fact that all the things that we've been able to accomplish, it hasn't happened in a vacuum, right? We've had some stumbling blocks of sorts. We've also realized it is hard in creating something from literally the dust and putting the concrete and slab in place. But we've been very diligent and intentional about this work. We've been very thoughtful about who needs to be in the room, meaning it just can't be the 11 of us. It takes our staff, the community. It takes real communication. It takes hard work. Right? This is something where, no, we don't carry a paycheck home, but this pay comes in dividends. Every time I'm at, and you talk about going to a bar, I can't go to a Chili's anymore. There's somebody coming up and saying, I want to talk to you about COB. And that's because what we're doing is important. And that's why I'm interested in serving again. To be very honest with you, I think members of the COB and others were groaning a little bit when I pulled the lot for the 1 year, but it caused me to be very intentional about whether or not I wanted to step up and serve and ask to be trusted in this role again. And I'm excited about what's to come, no matter whether I'm sitting in the chair role or just sitting as a member of that board. I will continue to want to push forward this agenda because we've established a relationship with Metro Police that never existed before, and we have cities calling on us now to say, well, how do we get our police department to the table? That's something Nashville should be proud of, and I'm excited about it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I know we've had quite a bit of turnover, yet you're deciding that you want to stay on. I just want to know why that is.
Yeah, I want to stay on.
And why so much turnover?
Turnover within the board?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was, the bylaws that we constructed, it was clear that we wanted to make sure there was a natural progression of members coming off so that we didn't lose all that institutional knowledge. So we didn't completely wipe the slate clean of all 11 members, but rather we would come off in 1-year terms, 2-year, 3-year. And to make it fair, we just pulled lots to say 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year. So some of us, a third of us got the 3-year lots, 2 year, and 1 year. I just so happened to be among the 3 that pulled the 1 year, which caused me the opportunity, it gave me the opportunity to step back and go, let me breathe and go, do I want to do this again? And so I'll be very frank with you. 2019 was a space where I had to juggle quite a bit, but who doesn't? And when you step back and realize what a privilege it is to serve, and I'll tell you, in November of last year, I had one of our, a longtime leader of the city of Nashville, I ran into him somewhere and he said, if you're even thinking about stepping off this board, you better think twice. He said, because the people should decide when it's no longer time for you to serve, not you. And I stepped back and I thought, yeah, you're right. Everything in me tells me I want to continue to serve in this capacity. I moved back home to serve Nashville. And I was gone too long, to be honest with you. I started sounding like a little bit like I was from the north. So I'm back.
Wait.
I know. I thought that was coming out. But I'm excited to be back home. And if this is a space where I can give them any of my free time, it'd be a pleasure.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Well, I have a comment, and that is I believe that the COB was the most important thing that the council did in our last term. And I am so thankful to you and for the team that participated in this whole process because we had nothing and we made it into something. And we did it with grace, poise, and thoughtfulness. And the council acted in such inclusionary efforts in what they did. It was just, to me, it was just a single activity that really spoke highly of who we are as people. And I just think that it was worthy of making note of it.
Thank you, Councilor Layden. Any other questions or comments?
Do we have to ask the 3-question thing or anything to qualify these?
I'm not sure what the specific requirements in COB are, but
should we do it just in case? I'm looking at Bob Cooper.
Do we need to ask if they live in Davis County, registered voter, all of that?
Yes.
I mean, even though, like, obviously you answered this last year, but just...
yeah, it turns out that those are not requirements for most of the boards, but
Okay.
it could be for COB.
Well, I just didn't want to get to next week
Davidson County?
and...
I am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I guess we should ask that of the other people. I just... okay, thank you. I just didn't want to get to, like, the appointment process time and this be a disqualification for some reason.
Invite Samuel X, please. Hi. Would you mind talking a little bit about your background, your interests, please?
Sure. Greetings, everyone. My name is Samuel X. I serve as the student minister of Muhammad Mosque number 60 of the Nation of Islam here in Nashville. I also have been a founding member and founding leader of Gideon's Army in the early stages of development, as well as serve as the president and co-founder of the Collegiate Busy Conference, which is a nonprofit organization that deals with fostering collaboration between HBCUs, founded at Tennessee State University. I'm originally from Chicago. I've been an official resident of Nashville since 2003, and my community activism and outreach work began at that same time that I actually moved here. My background is primarily dealing in the outreach aspect of community education reform. I deal with prison reform. I've been going into prisons within a TDOC since 2006, beginning in West Tennessee and South Central Correctional Facility, which also helping to deal with civil matters where there are grievances that come up within inmates and help them to basically navigate through those issues so that basically justice is served within the framework of the institution. So ultimately, I've been a fighter for justice, for members of our community since my work began here.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Are you registered voter in Davidson County?
I am.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we're on to the Hospital Authority. It's the appointment of, I don't want to bungle your pronunciation of your name. Could you help me, please?
I'm going to say it for you and make your life easy.
Thank you very much. Apologize.
My name is Rangaraj Ramanujam. I don't expect any of you to say that back to me again. I go by Ranga, and I'm happy to be here. And I'm currently a professor at Vanderbilt University's Owen School of Management.
Would you mind talking a little bit about your interest in the hospital?
So I teach at the business school, but my research interests span business and healthcare. I currently hold a chair in healthcare management, and a lot of my research and teaching over the past 20 years has focused on improving healthcare delivery. And I teach courses on healthcare delivery, and I also have consulted with a variety of healthcare delivery organizations in the U.S. and internationally. And I've been thinking for quite a while about how best I could use my expertise to also serve the community here locally. And when this opportunity opened up, I thought that this could be a learning opportunity for me first and foremost, because I go in recognizing that this is quite different from many of the other things I've done. And yet I do believe that many of the things that I have studied and understand are transferable. So I just see this as an opportunity to contribute.
Thank you. Any questions?
My only question was actually administrative. I know this board, this authority has a lot of slots where you have to fill where somebody has a specific professional background. Do we, obviously a professional background, impressive. I'm just asking kind of what slot that fills, because sometimes we have to have people who are medical professionals, people who are healthcare professionals.
Don't have that information.
We have to have 3 MDs, one of whom has to be a psychiatrist, and we also have to have a nurse. I think we've got those.
We currently have those filled.
And I'm none of the above.
Perfect.
You're above.
Thank you. Yeah.
I move approval.
Second.
I got a question. Dr. Rangaraj, I'm a nut job.
That's pretty good. Thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to know how was that? How was that? That was it.
You said that perfectly fine. Yeah. Thank you.
Is that your question?
That was my question. How's that? Isn't that a question?
That's the easiest one I've ever received in my life. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
NECAT, Nashville Education, Community, and Arts Television, the appointment of Mr. Brian Rossman for a term expiring February 5th, 2023, and the appointment of Mr. Willie James Sims Jr. for a term expiring February 5th, 2022. Mr. Sims will fill the unexpired term of Ms. Emily Booth Masters. Mr. Rossman, Mr. Sims, welcome. Would you all mind introducing yourselves and talking a little bit about your interest in NECAT?
How you doing, man? Good to meet you. I'm gonna go first? You go first. All right, I'm Willie James Sims Jr. What was the rest of it?
What's your interest in NECAT?
I started out on public access television. I had a cooking show for a long time, cooking with big fellas.
We went to school together.
Even throughout my journey, spent a lot of time on public access TV. It propelled me into places I never would have went without it. So I've kind of seen it from a lot of different perspectives. Even a lot of people work over there. I've worked with them before. And I just know the power of public access television and what it could do for, I wouldn't say the kids, but anybody really.
It just give you a voice. It's kind of YouTube before YouTube, but they actually give you all the tools also, not just the platform, but they give you hands-on stuff you could touch and learn and build from and build with. I just love public access.
Nice, thank you. Mr. Rossman?
Great. My name is Brian Rossman. I am a registered voter in Davidson County. I moved to Nashville 2 years ago and was looking for ways to contribute. I own a PR firm that has offices here and in Los Angeles. I've produced television for cable networks. I work in media all the time. I package together television stuff all the time, and it seemed like a great fit to be able to get my hands in the dirt and do some good for the community.
I don't see any similarities or why you're here.
Any questions or comments?
So this board is supposed to be nonpartisan, and I see on here that you have done some issue-based and political campaigns, local, state, and national level. I just want to make sure that that won't interfere.
It should not.
Okay.
This board has seen tremendous turnover over the past 4 years. We frequently appoint people, and then they board hop onto a different board. And I would assume that's detrimental to the board. And so when I vote for you tonight, what I am, I guess, expressing to you is that I'm going to be very disappointed if in 6 months or a year, unless you moved out of the county, that you're up for another board, or that this is a commitment to a board. And this is a board that I think, getting a new executive director, changing locations, it needs board members that are committed. And I've just been very because I think this has huge potential. This is a great organization. And I know a lot of people come into it with a lot of passion, and I don't fully know why, because the administration doesn't always share that with us, of why there is such great turnover. And so what I'm asking you tonight, and with my vote, assuming you were saying yes, unless you want to say no now, is that you fill out your full term and that you give this board everything that you plan on committing to it tonight. And that if in 6 months or a year or something you are moving out of the county, I got it. But if you decide to leave this board before the end of your term, please reach out to this committee or communicate with us so we know what is going on that's causing some turnover, some pretty frequent turnover on the board. I think that would be appreciated to understand how we can make this board more successful.
Sure.
Thank you.
I would echo those comments and just add, this was an agency that, quite frankly, got put up for cuts this current budget that we're in, and we need advocates, plain and simple. So in your role, please help us help communicate to the public how valuable this is, because we know it's valuable and you know it's valuable, and we need to work closer together to communicate that to the larger public.
Any other comments?
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. See you next door.
Thank you.
Storm
Big bill
You guys
again. Now you gotta move over next door. Did you bring us anything to eat tonight? Was there any food tonight?
Are we not doing the parking things anymore?
They're not
They
here.
were not in here.
Hey, don't forget to
Stormwater Management Committee, the appointment of Mr. Jesus Gomez Velez for a term expiring October 31st, 2023. Welcome.
Hello.
Great. Would you mind discussing your interest in stormwater a little bit, please?
Sure. So I'm an assistant professor of hydrology in the Department of Civil Engineering at Nashville University. I've been in the city for almost 2 years now, and see this as an ideal opportunity to serve the community, and in particular with an area that is my area of expertise. In the past, I've had the opportunity to work both as a professor at different institutions, but also for the U.S. Geological Survey, looking at restoration processes of natural streams and wetlands. So it seems like a perfect fit for me.
Thank you. Any questions or
Move for approval.
comments?
Second?
One quick question. So often, our interaction with the Stormwater Management Committee is when somebody is requesting a variance or some sort of exception. How do you, I mean, you obviously have the engineering background to consider that from a scientific perspective, but how would you consider that on a board where somebody may be coming and they're going to make a, maybe not so much a scientific pitch, but sort of a political pitch or a development pitch or whatever it might be? What would you take into consideration?
I can see that. So in general, I mean, I think part of the process in nature will be to learn and to sort of really appreciate how the board works. From my perspective, I mean, what I can do is just, read their appeal or their argument and see what are the implications that can have, again, for our community. Just give my honest opinion about what I think about it. But again, I think it's going to be a process just to learn from how the board works and how we set replace our approach.
No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. See you next door. Next we
move
have.
What about
we have-
defer?
We have the appointment of Ms. Margaret Littman to defer. We have a motion to defer her. And a second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then we have Councilmember Sparrow would like to address an issue.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure if I need to come before the Rules Committee or not, but as a precaution, I wanted to. So I have a resolution, RS 173, that was supposed to be before the Personnel Committee this afternoon. I was stuck in traffic, and so I was not able to make it to committee. Committee voted to defer, but I wanted to suspend the rules and bring it up on the floor tonight. And so I talked to different people. Some said I need to come and ask you. Some said I don't need to. I was like, okay, to be safe. I don't want to get there. There's like, what, did you ask rules? I make sure that I ask rules. So, yes.
Thank you. I mean, I would be inclined to defer to the Personnel Committee on whether that's something that they want to be
They
able to.
do not mind. It's just that I was late. I did not. So when I walk in the door, they've adjourned the meeting.
Gotcha.
And they had questioned that I couldn't answer. So there's members of the Personnel Committee here. That
Yeah,
can
I
speak
was
to
there,
that.
and we voted to defer because we weren't sure of her status. But we all wanted to hear, about the resolution. We're all interested in it, and we're just as happy to hear it on the floor as we are in committee.
Okay. Anybody have any issues if personnel doesn't?
I have no issues. Do you want to just give a quick summary of what the resolution is?
Yes, so basically RS 173 is just the first step in trying to help us with the Sunshine Law. So for example, you're going through a bill, you have a question, and you cannot ask the council until today because they've been closed all 3 days. And so what this does is the state law does allow us to have an internet forum where we can ask the sponsor a question. And so this resolution is not starting the forum, but it's basically saying that the IT department should look into what the forum will look like, what are the rules, so that we stay within the state's law. And so the resolution is just the first step to start the conversation, tell ITS to work on it, and also to give the public a notice that we're looking into this. I think is another tool in the toolbox that I think will help us do our work better. We could share documents instead of, we had an issue where we were trying to write a letter, and the whole idea of writing and sending it to the council and sending it back, and so just a way to do our job better. So the forum is not to make decisions or to vote on things, but it will give us opportunity to ask questions directly to the sponsors. And because it's a forum that is open to the public, it will still be within the Sunshine Law, and the language of the resolution is coming straight from the Tennessee Code.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything? All right. Thank you. All right. We are adjourned.